Alright, can you guys hear me okay? Let me see my thing here. Do I want to turn my gain down? I got a loud. It's the highest my audio will go. Let's check my audio settings. Only microphone. That is the loudest it will go. Can you guys hear me okay? I don't want it to get too loud. I also remember it's a 30-second lag. So we... Oh, where'd my thing go? I just said that. Lock. Unlock preview. EU. Logo. EU. Okay. There we go. There's my logo. Thank you. I wore my fun glasses today. So we will be chatting for a little bit to let people come in, and we'll kind of discuss what I'm going to be working on. Looks like the Twitch chat's working. Sometimes I forget to turn off. I don't sometimes. But I want to make sure I have turned off the emote only for the Twitch channel. And let's see. Prepping my references. So how have you guys been? I know it's been a little bit. I actually blew a monitor and I had to get new parts. Because I'm not going to buy a new monitor. I really like this one. Trying to decide which one I want to make. So we're going to be doing some robes today. I can't decide if I want to do like kids style. Either way, I'll be doing an undergarment or an under outfit and then an over piece that is the robe. There's a couple of iterations, but there's one I really like that I kind of wanted to do. That'll also cover what we were talking a little bit about in the Discord earlier this week. Hey Sharana, yes, I will be working. I will show you how to use the, oh my gosh, what is it called? The slash and spread tool. It's easy once you understand what it does. So that's why I'm doing ropes, because I can easily do slash and spread with that. And we'll be starting with the basic, like, t-shirt. So, and then that applies to the other questions about how do I make this thing do this? And internal lines? What was the other question? Does it have internal lines sewing into each other? Technically? Sort of. That is an odd capelet. Which do I want to do? Let's see. We might just go with the harder one. Just for the sake of it. That I'm thinking of. It's basically a P coat if it was a cape. A PEA coat. Which would also have buttons, because people had some questions about buttons this past week. Let's see. We'll see how far we get, just because I am doing 2 layers. I don't know if I can get to a hat, but it would be cool if I could. But we will find out how fast we can go. Hi, Fredo. Let's see. Oh, it's so cute. Oh, there's figures. You have your notepad ready. We have another 3 minutes and then I'll start my normal spiel, but there is a contest that I will share links to. I've shared it in the Discord, but I will share it again in the chat. We'll do that. Yes, it is the prop one. We just announced it, but I'll still share it for people who might not know. Because a lot of people, and for some reason, a lot of people just miss announcements from us. I've noticed that from Twitter, so I guess the more I talk about it, the more people might at least hear about it. Hello, hello! I'm still looking for more examples of references for what I want to make. Just examples, really. Okay. Hello there, thank you for joining us. Alright, 9 minutes, we got 1 more minute, and then I will do my basic links and the one new announcement. Guess I'll just move this there. Germany, oh my gosh, you might be up late then. Alright. 1 more minute. And then I can go. I have my ginger soda. Okay, it's only 9. That's not bad. Alright. 10 minutes. You've let people see the announcements at least for 10 minutes. So I'm going to start the spiel for those of you, first of you are welcome. For those of you who might not know, I'm Megan. I work for Marvelous Designer as 3D designer and a community manager. So I'm in the Discord, I'm moderating the chats, and I am making sure that we don't have any bots in there. I don't have any assistants moderating in the chat for me, so I will be heavily moderating the chat. Be polite or I will kick you. I will explain the Mage Robes in a minute. But if you have any technical questions that I might not be able to answer, I will link, I'll put some links in the chat. But first of all, for those of you who are from our Discord, hello and hi again. Welcome. Welcome back. For those of you who are new, here is a link to our Discord channel and to our website. So our most active community is like on our Discord or on our website right now, on our website actual forum for getting help, talking with people, sharing your work, kind of sharing bugs with us that we might not find, and sometimes we can help answer your questions, but a lot of the time we're working, and so we might not be able to answer everyone's questions. But feel free to join our Discord and help each other get your own questions answered. Hi, Rosemary! One of our lovely Discord members, Rosemary, and we also have Sharana in here too. And for our website, for those of you in the future, what software am I using? I'm using Marvelous Designer, which is the name of the channel and the name of the software. You can go to our website to get a free 30-day trial, as well as that would be where you would purchase a subscription to our software, as well as you can see our announcements, and our forum is there if you don't have a Discord or you prefer to not use a Discord. For those of you who are on Twitch, here is a link to our YouTube channel, because we are streaming at the same time to Twitch and to YouTube, as well as a link to our beginner tutorials. They're in an older version of Marvelous Designer, but they are a great basic course to getting yourself started using the software and understanding the concepts that Marvelous Designer works in. And we do let them expire on Twitch, so whatever the 14 days, whenever Twitch decides to delete our links, our videos, we let them expire. But here on YouTube, we do let them stay in perpetuity, and we put them under a live stream playlist for those of you who want to use it as reference in the future. And last but not least, if there are questions that I might not be able to answer, if you are having technical difficulties, like getting into your account, something like that, here's just a link to our website. You go to support/contact. You can also go to support@marvelousdesigner.com, like the email, and send a support request there. So today we are done. Okay, we're done with the basic announcements. We do have one more announcement, which is we are currently collaborating with Laertes for their monthly 3D prop challenge, and so this month's theme is cyberpunk, and you can check it out on their website. Let me grab that link from the Discord channel. Announcements. And here is a link to that challenging contest, and one of our members in Shanghai, Sherry, is one of the judges for the contest. And we love Sherry. So feel free to take a look at the contest. We are working with them, and there's some pretty cool prizes. I've linked it in the chat, as well as it is on our Discord, and we have made announcements on Twitter and on Instagram. The sound is a bit low. I recommend you turn it up, because right now it's right below the yellow peak, so I would recommend you turn your sound up, because the only way I can have no giant fan noises is if I have my gain relatively high. So this is the highest I can go without consuming the microphone or having just the sound of a fan non-stop going in the background. Unfortunately. I'm going to leave that up. So today we are doing some Mage Robes. So basically we're doing some like little academia style robes. So we will have an undergarment, which is basically I'm going to call it a chemise, but it's definitely not a chemise. That is a unisex piece. And then we'll have a over cloak inspired by some stuff I've seen recently, and I just really want to figure out how to make it, because I might make the costume in the future. So we're going to be doing some kind of scholarly type mage robes. Not fantasy, not high fantasy, but more scholarly style, which I will then be able to include the concepts of some buttons and how buttons work, because we've had some questions about that, how to use the slash and spread tool, and what was the other one? Let me check, because it was on my list. I might have internal lines and how to do ruffles. Where was that? It's going to have a lot of layering, which people were talking about how to do. And some interesting sleeves, because it's going to be a capelet. So let's go to the main screen now. I moved. Move me back. Alright. That was annoying. Lock preview. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and use, I can't decide if I want to use a kid avatar. We'll use an adult female avatar just for the sake of this. Which will be video of the day on Twitch or Twitter? It will stay up on both until Twitch decides to delete it. Because it expires after about 14 days? About 2 weeks it expires if Twitch decides to delete it. So we leave it up as long as we can. So I will be just working from a basic t-shirt. Let's see. Yeah. So I'm actually going to go from the library. First of all, I've imported my avatar here. This is our base Marvelous Designer avatar, the female version. I'm going to go ahead and go to the modular configurator, which has a bunch of free pattern templates here, or garment templates. I've chosen the women's blocks, and I'm just going to go to the t-shirts, because I'm just going to be working from a basic t-shirt for most of this. And I'm going to choose the set-in sleeve because I'm making the underpiece first. So I'm going to be working from the lowest layer to the highest layer, and then I save as I'm working because I need to know how it's going to fit based on the lower layers pieces. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab super basic shirts. Her arms are not at her sides. That's totally fine. I'm going to actually go back. I'm just going to delete this actually. So if you do this and your piece is not where you want it to be in the scene on your human avatar, you can turn on the bounding volumes and or arrangement points. So I have my arrangement points and I'm just going to put it on her arms and simulate to put it into place. This is a good base. This is the set-in sleeve, so it's a little bit higher on the shoulder. And because her arms are out, it does fit a little bit differently than you saw a minute ago. So that is something to note for those of you who are new to Marvelous Designer. If you have their arms out, actually I do want to show this. I've seen this a lot and people complain about fit and have a lot of issues, and it's just because they don't understand. Turn this off. Turn this off. They don't understand how clothes work. I do want to point this out for a second. So I've turned on symmetry in movement. I'm going to simulate because she has clothes on her right now. A lot of people import their avatars in a T-pose. So this is an actual fitting like real life shirt, let's just say. Watch what happens when I put her arms out, standing in a T-pose. Yes, we're working on the bug. Do you see, ignoring these parts, but do you see how this doesn't fit? Because no one stands like this all the time. So when you import an avatar and you try to fit an avatar while you're working in Marvelous Designer, do you see all the gathering even on my own t-shirt? Do you see how it doesn't fit? So that is why you want to work, at the very least, in an A pose, and then end in A with their arms at their sides to see how it would fit. Because that's how you're not getting the correct look on garments if you're working in Marvelous Designer. If your avatar is straight up T-posing, they're gonna look weird T-posing. Yeah, keep their arm, if you, so just keep their arms at an A pose, like I had before. Don't simulate while you do that, or else you'll get what I just did. I hit Control-C. If you keep their arms at a... Oh, I switched it, didn't I? There we go. If you keep their arms at an A pose or a... Put this down there. You'll get a better, more accurate fit. I did just want to point that out. For a lot of people who are just starting off, remember you're working with real clothes. How would a real person stand? They'll T-pose for a minute and just stand there like a gremlin. But more often than that, they'll have their arms out, or as you saw, there's actually strain here on the shoulders. let me go to here. Avatar. I'm going to put her in that pose that it should have been when I first imported it so you can see. Where is it? Female. It's really small right now just because I'm being lazy. Pose only, yes. But you'll see how it properly fits when her arms are at her sides. Because most of us are just going to sit there with our arms at our sides. And obviously simulate. And that's how you can get what it actually will fit like. I'm going to bring this back to the A pose, the highest A pose. She has a couple, but just bring them in at an A pose or a low A pose. Because you can put them at their arms in the middle. Sometimes that also works, but just be aware of the volume of your intended garment and if there is going to be collision occurring with that. I will have to end up working with the second layer of this garment with her arms at her sides for this purpose. So let's go ahead and get started. I have my basic shirt here. I'm going to remove my modular frames and I'm going to be making a basic kind of chemise looking thing. So I'm going to be deleting these collar pieces and I'm going to be raising the collar. So if you watch our beginner tutorials, you'll see how to do this, but I'm going to do this now as well. So this collar needs to be up higher towards about here on her neck, because I know this fits her relatively accurately to what I want right now. Because when I'm working with a shirt, you want to fit the shoulders first. This relatively fits. I'm going to be doing a lot of alterations, but to get the look I want, I do need to start working in a little bit of a different way. So I'm using the curve hotkey, or the C. I can also use the smooth curve tool. Select in between my 2 points, select the curve I want to clean up, and then clean it up. I have a reference, but it's a little licensed, and I don't want to do that. So think like a peacoat. Right now we're making a chemise. A cute chemise. I'll show you what a chemise looks like. I'm making an iteration of a chemise dress. So I'm making basically this, except this whole piece up here is going to be chevron layers and it'll have some buttons. So we'll go with something like this. This is like a historical looking garment. We're going to go with something like this as the basic, but it will have cuffed sleeves and a puff sleeve up here. So it's a couple of pieces. So as you can see, I've altered the neckline a little bit. The neckline also needs to come in, but I need to move my back pattern close. So because I removed that collar, I also need to make this closer to her neck. So I'm just grabbing the matching sides of the neck and I'm holding control to keep along the same line. So I'm manipulating the two sewing lines that sew into each other. So I'm moving them at the same time, which makes it easier for me to be able to keep them consistent. Okay. I'm working on that kind of gathering on the front into something. Yeah, gathering is great. I love gathering or easing. It's super easy. We can see here that there's a little bit of a gap. That is fine, because I am going to actually remove some of the width on the back here. Let's see. There's a little bit of ease here. I could either ease this in. Normally there's a dart in here too, so I could either ease it or not care. I might just not care and move forward because it's an underdress that is basically a chemise. So let's go ahead and do the dress portion because that should be relatively easy. I am going to be doing, instead of just doing a gathered neck, I will just do some chevrons and have this gathered in. So I'm going to create my design lines first. Ooh, kind of hide this a little bit. And I'm going to be working on the half. So I do love me my lines. If you've seen some of the older, some of our older tutorials, like the basic tutorials, I do this in a couple of the jackets. I just love color blocking. So I'm creating the shapes in my lines. Yes, so what, like as Rosemary said, whenever you want gathers, you need extra material to make gatherings. So you need at least 1.5 times what you're sewing into. What you will, ideally for like ruffles, you want 2, if not 3 times the width. For gathering, you can always get away with some like circle skirt, like circle pieces where the interior line perfectly matches up with the sewing line, but it is more work to calculate that. Right now I'm just creating the design line that's not going to be gathered. That will be kind of woven looking. This is just going to be stitched together. Yeah, that's fine. We're going to go with this. I want this to be lower. Do I? No, I don't. This is a chemise, so I'm actually I am gonna pull the sleeve down. So I'm now lengthening the sleeve hole, which also means that I need to lengthen my armhole. So I'm opening up that armhole because it is going to be a little bit looser fitting, which is fine. Because it's kind of what I'm looking for here. You can't even see it. It's underneath. But if your character were to take it off, then you would know it's there. So I'm adjusting the armhole so that I have a little bit more space. This will become a bell sleeve that ends in a cuff. But we're not doing that. We're going to do the torso first. And then the robes. So I'm going to cut and sew this upper portion first and cut and sew this lower piece. So now I have this piece that's not going to be gathered, and then I will have the rest of the pieces layered together. How do I mirror the lines? I stuck with the mirror, just fold on one side. So because this is symmetrically linked, let me do it this way. These are linked. This piece is symmetrically linked across this line, and then these pieces are linked to each other. So what you're seeing me do and why I'm working on the half is the other piece here is unfolded with symmetrical editing, and that's what happens with this piece. So if I were to make a change to one side, it happens to the other because they're symmetrically linked across that center line. Okay, so I'm going to do the easy part first. Offset as internal line along a curve. I'm going to do 5, and these pieces are symmetrically linked because it had symmetrical linking across that center line first. So because they were cut symmetrically at the same time, they have the symmetrical link. And then I'm going to do, ironically, this piece is now not going to be a, I hate these Bezier curves, thank you. This piece will now have a straight point, which is fine, but it is what I want, so. I'll do this the easy way. I'm going to remove my linked editing across the center piece and then slice it down the center. And cut and sew, and then this is also how you can do the symmetrical linking. I know they're symmetrically linked. I know they're the same pattern. I can choose apply linked editing, symmetrical pattern with sewing. So now they're linked. Because what I want to do is do the same internal lines, offset along a curve. It's great on a curve, but it's also great when you have internal lines that you want to distribute like this to get a quilted look. You could do a layered look, but in this case I'm just going to do a quilted appearance, at least for the front here. I'm going to leave this actually as it is because I don't want to do another layer right now. So to then, let me do, how do I want to do this back piece? We're going to do the back piece a little different, just so we have it consistent. I'm going to cut it across the center back where you would normally have a yoke. I'm choosing cut and sew. So this piece will now also be quilted a little bit, so that the rest of this can be evenly eased into that piece. Offset as internal line along a curve. So this is why I sliced it in half, is because these pieces are symmetrically linked, but if I'm only selecting 2 of those pieces of that half, it's not going all the way across. So I just remove that linked editing, and then I can cut it in half. And then apply them separately. Offset along a curve. I don't like how that looks, so we're going to do it this way. We're also just going to make it real fancy when it doesn't need to be. Offset along a curve so I can get that look. I can make this quilting, but then I can also use this as my reference for, let's just say, we're going to actually move this down here. We're going to use this as my reference for also, what is it? Oh, I don't remember. But, so here's a little trick. I actually want to make this the mirror of the front, just to make it easier on me to get an interesting look, let's just say. So if I want to move both of these lines, both of these segment points, I can select them both at the same time and hold shift. And here's where I could do the different angles that I would want. So I can go between multiple angles. So let's see, let's look at the back. Because they've moved the exact same distance. So the fit hasn't really changed. Oh, it looks like it got cut. Maybe I didn't select the correct piece. Where are we? Okay, so that would be here. There we go. And between the two, where's that? Is it back? So I haven't changed the actual size or fit. I've just applied my designs. There might be a little tuck here, but I'll fix that in a minute. Let's see. There's a little tuck where I put the point on that one. Oh, I see. Okay, so it's actually just fine. Let me see. Where are you? Dancing around here. There we go. Okay, where's this tuck? Ooh. My mouse has been acting up. Okay, here it is. There we go. I fixed that. Okay. So I'm just applying that same design idea to the back. Whew. My mouse is just really, really doing stuff today. So edit pattern tool. Let's see how I want to do this. Offset as internal line. So this will be a flared angle, or I could do this. I'll think about it later. Oh. I don't know how I did that. I definitely removed the sewing relationship somehow. There we go. Either way, the back's not super important. At least it carries on there. Okay, so to make this a chemise, they're super easy. I just need to not affect the sleeve, the armhole portion right down here. And I'm actually going to put this back up here. Let's see how long we want to make it. Okay. And I'm going to remove the waist because this is going to be unisex. And I'm selecting them both, and I'm evenly making them super wide. No, that affects the sleeve. I need to do it this way. So the portions that they're sewing into, I'm selecting the exterior lines. Come here. And then I'm pulling them. So I'm not making any change to how the armhole down here is shaped on the front and the back. And I'm holding shift to keep it going straight for both. This might be a little too wide, but we're going to find out. It's a little too wide. Using the edit pattern tool, not the transform. Again, holding shift. Superimpose side. And I'm going to freeze everything but them, just in case, so that they can settle themselves. And then we'll get this underskirt done. Oh. Make sure to change everything to a 20 particle distance. And reset. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm just going to go ahead and reset the 2D arrangement for this guy, for the front and the back, just because they're so wide. Superimpose sometimes works, but sometimes it doesn't, just because of the nature of the shape. There we go. And you can see that I haven't changed the shape of the armhole. So it's sewing in correctly here. And it's going into this piece. To better support this neckline and where this is gathering into, I am going to put seam tape, which is a stabilizer, on the pieces that it's going into to prevent this from stretching too much. So this is fine. Don't be afraid of the mess like this if you're making alterations. Yes, we can figure it out. It just takes time, as well as just make sure that you are working at 20 particle distance, not 10, because I use the base piece and it is at 10 particle distance. Okay, so this is actually pretty good for the gathering. So let's make this wider. We've made a crop top now, so let's just make this a, a dress, a robe, an under robe here. So you can see some collision issues here. So I'm using Control H to strengthen. You can also right click. And so there's a couple of things I've seen people complain about collision issues, like this with their avatar on their legs. So you can either move it like you've seen me do. You can also use the Select Mesh Box tool to see where it's happening. So I can also see this is my seam, and this looks like it's the back, so it looks like there. So I'm going to just pull this out of this piece and do the same to this piece. You can also use it while it is simulating, as you saw. So you can do a couple of things from here. If I really want my gathering to not be evenly distributed, I can do something like this. So I can delete, I want more gathering to be at the point of this in the front and a little bit less at the top. So what I'm going to do is turn off simulation and delete my sewing relationships just on that front piece. And then I'm going to make 2 sewing relationship lines going in the same direction. And I'm going to have them unequally distributed. So I'm going to have this piece up here, make sure it's not overlapping where it shouldn't be. Have this be like a little bit shorter but a little bit longer. And I'm going to have this piece consume more. We'll do this and this. So this is also how you can engineer a little bit your gathers. You can also be a little more specific with it by using ratios, by using segment points. So if I wanted this to be exact, I can right click with my edit sewing tool, choose add point to pattern end. So this is the start with the little notch, the little line. This is the end. Add point to pattern end, and it applies a point to my pattern itself. So I can make sure that, move this. This line now hits that segment point because it'll kind of magnet to it. So now they're the same, and that's also why it is good to use segment points. So let's just say I liked how this looked. I'm going to do the same with this piece, add point to pattern end, and then I'm going to make this piece match on both sides. And watch how this changes how this is going to fit. I'm also going to turn off strengthening. And you can see here how I've reduced the amount of gathering over here and brought it back down to the center. Now this again is pretty, this is 20 particle distance, so it's not going to be 100% accurate. I almost want these to be a little bit closer. It literally looks like a moo-moo, but I mean, that's how it goes, right? Let's see how it looks when I do bring it down to 10 particle distance. 10. We'll see how it looks. Because you can also engineer your pleats and your gathers here. So I've turned off my simulation. I can do something like this and specifically make sure that it looks good. So I can either draw on it in the 3D space, or I can use my internal lines to create my lines to specifically engineer my pleats and like force it to fold in whichever way I want it to. For the sake of speed here, I'm not going to do that. You. What are you doing? I'm going to bring this back up to 20 particle distance. I'll probably give it a belt and then call it done. And then we'll go on to the sleeves. Okay, but what are you doing? What are you up to? Are you just... Okay, you're just a high particle distance. There's not a tuck here. Oh, that's what's happening. Okay, there was. Okay. Fix that. Okay. Make sure to fix your sewing in case you've made any mistakes like I just did. Yeah, the belt will make it easier, but I can also engineer where I want my belt to be. So, turning off simulation. I can also specifically double check where I want it to be. Let's see, not opaque surface. Okay, so I've selected where my belt is going to end up being. And I'll toggle my cloth back to thick textured surface because that is the most accurate. So it's about there. I could again draw on this, but I don't need to. This is gathered, so I have a feeling I'm going to need to make it a curve. And then cut and sew again. Maybe I don't need to make it a curve. Let's just make it straight just to see what happens. Now I will cut and sew because it's symmetrically linked. And now I have that length. So I can check this because they sew in together here on that side. So 154.1, split my line, 154.1. So it's the exact same length. And now I have that point as my reference to do the same to the back. So you can use this to also engineer elastic. So I'm actually going to be doing that. Cut and sew. Making sure that my sewing relationship exists. Oh, I guess I made it go up. That's fine. Again, I'm still working on a pretty ugly 20 particle distance. So let's make this elastic and see what the base elastic value makes it look like. Not bad. Let's do a lower ratio. And that'll get me started for that belt location. Let's see, before. So I see how it fits now. Actually, since they're smaller, this actually will really help me. For also efficiency, this smaller piece needs to have more wrinkles. I can now lower the particle distance to 15 at least for now while working, without having to affect the lower one here that needs to have the higher particle distance for now. So I could have made a belt to make it smaller, but I can also just use the elastic value to see where my belt would fit well. And then I could even, if I really wanted, like sew my belt onto this in the correct size and then remove the belt or remove the sewing relationship afterwards. But let's do my sleeves really fast. Right below the elbow. I believe elbow is about here. We're okay, where are we? Okay. We're going to make that sleeve that I talked about. Cut and sew. And now is going to be one of our first times using the slash and spread tool. I promised you we would do it, and here we are. So I'm moving my sleeves a little bit out of the way. So what I'm trying to do is I'm going to be making a bell sleeve. So it's going to be much wider here around than it is at the top. And so I don't need volume up here. I only need volume down here. This is how you can also engineer gathers. It's like you just slice it and you're like, okay, this is where I want volume. So I am going to freeze this, these two pieces, actually everything else too. While I'm not working with pieces and areas, I am freezing them so that I don't need to worry about the software having to calculate the live simulation of that while I'm doing just this one spot. So the slash and spread tool, let me just pop this out. So slash and spread. So I'm going to do it the hard way first. So this is what slash and spread does. In real sewing terms, in real life sewing, you do this on paper. I do this all the time in real paper. So slash and spread, to add volume to the bottom, you literally cut up the pattern. And then if you don't want any changes here, you keep them. Normally you keep them like touching each other, but in this case we don't need to worry about it. So I'm double clicking this box here. This is the hard way, and then I will show you like how slash and spread functions. So double click so it's orange, move that pivot point to the anchor point where you want to turn this. And then you pivot. So in the real life, you would do this on paper, and you would cut paper out, and you turn this, and then you connect these two pieces. And then you even this out and you clean it up a little bit so that this line doesn't change. That's how you do it in the real world, and then you put like paper in the middle. If you're to do it physically in the real world, I should say. We have Marvelous Designer now, so we can do it this way. And we don't have to do the math. So we can do that with slash and spread. So slash and spread, it says, ooh, I don't know why it's doing this. So it says, click on a segment to draw the slash line. So I'm starting from the top because you start from your anchor. And I'm going down to the bottom here. And then I'm going to select one of my two sides. They highlight a little bit. So it says select side to rotate. So I select my side. And now, as you can see, I can rotate it and add as much volume only to that bottom that I want. So to evenly distribute it, I'm going to have to do a couple of these. So you can do it all the way this way, and this is actually a great way to get a single pleat in place and single amount of volume in place. I will show you just a severe single, which is also why we're doing this, because it does this. Right click, superimpose over. Superimpose side. There we go. Okay. So this is where it's only one in the center. Okay. So this is how you don't do it. But you can see right here is where all of that extra went, and it only exists on the top. So doing it the correct way, we're going to do a couple to add more volume as we go. So we do one in the middle. And then periodically we do want to, let me do it this way. I do want to have a line telling me the direction that my grain should go, because the fabric, how it drapes is important. So I just need to remember that that's there. So again, I'm going to use the slash and spread. And I'm going to do it on both sides of this, this grain here. And I'm going to be doing it evenly as I go down to the edge. By doing this, I'm adding equal amounts of volume to both sides of my pattern, and I'm evenly distributing the excess that I want. I'm eyeballing this because it's not the most important thing, but you can right click and specifically choose the spread distance or the angle distance to be consistent as you're working, to be very precise. You know, we got 2 hours, we're not going to be the most precise here. And you can see how it's not perfect, but it does apply everything relatively well. And so I'm going to turn all of these new segment points, align or convert to curve point so that it's clean. Oops. Don't select that one internal line. There we go. Convert to curve point. I'm using my curve point editor, and now I can just delete them. And it cleans up that line, because we do want that curve that it's creating for us. So I can leave that there. And because I kept this in place and I worked on both sides of this, I can then right click, select this, rotate y-axis, and make sure that this is straight. So now all of that volume is now evenly distributed across this pattern instead of just in that one spot. You can add more as you're working, but you know, this is pretty good. Now let's add some more. Ooh, you want to get banned? Goodbye. Yeah, actually, link sewing is already applied here. Sorry about that spam there. So link sewing is actually already applied. If you saw, I only did one sleeve. It's already been done to the other sleeve. So I only had to work on the one. If you can see here. Sharana, we did not do this to both sides manually. We did this to both sides at the same time because they're linked across. You could use slash and spread across the single sleeve, but if you already have two sleeves in place, number one, technically sleeves have different shapes. You can see on the base sleeve. Real sleeves should actually be slightly different shaped on the front and the back that are fitted sleeves. Obviously, when you get to this big, it's not going to be that much of a difference. But we applied it to both sides as we were working. So this is a little bit better to work with if you're doing something like this. You could just do one sleeve, but then you'd have to delete that sleeve and then apply it to the other one to be able to then work on the half, basically. So that's the basics of the slash and spread concept. So that's also why it's there, because it would be really annoying to have to cut the pieces out, move them to the shape you want, and then fill in that space with another piece and then merge that. Which is what you have to do in real life if you're like using a paper pattern. So let's go ahead and unfreeze the lower sleeve. It's a little long because I want to do a cuff. So just remember, these cuffs are also were symmetrically linked when I first cut them. Oh, I'm also going to remove, delete curve points, delete all curve points. So everything I do to this cuff is going to be applied to the other. So this is a little long. And then which way do I want sleeves to go? Which direction do cuffs on a sleeve? I'll add a little cuff here with a couple of like little sleeves. I just want to know which direction it goes. It goes back over front. Okay. Back over front. So I'm going to create an extended piece here because I'm going to cheat it. Offset as internal line, and I'm going to do 12.5 millimeters to give myself a ½ inch. I'm going to use the trace tool, which is also the I hotkey. So I'm selecting those internal lines and my external lines. Trace this pattern. And then I'm going to rotate this, parallel to this piece to this piece. So I'm being a little sneaky and sewing this to this, and then that to that, and then that to that. Fine. That's fine. Superimpose over. Stay here. And this is a very small piece, so I'm going to make it 10 particle distance. I guess the cuff too. So I'm making that button cover that you guys were talking about, how to do buttons. I'm going to make really tiny buttons. Let's see, where do I want this to be? Actually, I'm a liar. I don't want it there. I want it here. Where is that? I want it on the back of the arm. I'm faking my new button placket location. Cut and sew. That's gonna fall. That's fine. Alright, that's gonna go there instead. I'm gonna delete that. So yeah, I want this to be on the back side. This will make it a little easier too. So I'm gonna do that one more time. And then I'll end up merging these pieces together to keep it clean. Offset as internal line, again, 12.5. Trace. And this time I can just keep it in the same location. Trace as pattern. N hotkey to sew. And then select it in the space, right click, superimpose over. And then again, make that 10 particle distance, and then F to focus to zoom in. Okay, so now I have my little button placket here. I'm cheating it. But it will be the same basic concepts. So let's just say I want some buttons here. I want it wider. Don't hate me, guys. Okay. Okay, so this is actually overlaid on top, as you can see. I'm faking some button plackets. I'm faking that this is actually overlaid, because this will be a little easier and more efficient to simulate if I do this. I'm going to do it this way too. This is the cheater way. This is not the real way. This is the cheater way, guys. So I want to have some buttons. We were talking about buttons earlier. So I'm going to use the button tool, because most of my design's done. So now I'm going to be going down to the more dense pieces. So it's my buttons. Once this is done, it's going to get frozen, because buttons do take up a lot of simulation space and can slow down your machine while you're working. So I'm going to go to my button. So buttons go on the lower piece. Ooh, ooh. And because these are these what? Let me make sure they're not symmetrically linked. You! This is the one time where I am not symmetrically linked. I'm removing linked editing, and I'm going to apply it here. Symmetrical linking. Do I want to do that? I guess I won't. I won't do that. I'll do it the hard way. So I'm going to apply the buttons. Let me go make this back. Close this. I'm going to make this the property editor again. Not the property editor. The buttons. So we're going to do buttons first. I'm going to edit my default button before I do anything. I'm going to choose that round button shape because I like it, and I'm going to place it on this piece. And then I'm just selecting it in one spot. I'm going to then adjust where I want it to be placed. It's pretty big, so I can also reduce the width of that button to, let's just say 15. Move it to the center as best I can. You can also place a internal line here, but you can also do it like this. Control C, Control V. And then just paste in an interval like this, or I can do it like this. And I'll do it the other way. Right click, and then I'll just do my intervals. across this line, and I can reduce them or increase them. So I'll do, this is my interval. I do want a little less. One, two, three, four. Move 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't want it too close to the front. Yeah, we'll do that. So, I forget, because these are, it is good to have these linked because these ones need to have the buttons applied to both of them. So, using the button tool, the move button tool, selecting my buttons, I need to apply it to the other side. Right now, it is not on this other side because there's two options. I could have this button be applied as a buttonhole if it was an overlapped shirt, or since it's on a sleeve, I can just duplicate to my symmetrical pattern. So now I have my buttons there. This does mean that I can either remove and delete this, or apply it in the same, or I can copy this. Cannot copy paste. Yeah, okay. But I will do it a little bit of the hard way. If you're lazy and you don't want to actually read anything, you can just follow this same thing. So I'm going to just do buttonhole, same location, and it's the same concept. Control C, V. Now this buttonhole's a bit big, so let's go ahead and make that smaller. Buttonhole. The width should always be a little bit bigger than the actual button in real life. You don't have to do that here if you don't want to. But we made that 15, we'll make it 17 here. You could also do this across the line. I'm just doing this in the hardest way possible. And as you can see, I've applied a lot more mesh and textures here, so it is causing my simulation to slow down a little bit as I'm working. Just a little bit. Which is why we then there we go. Which is why we then do want to freeze this while you're done. And also why you want to work from lowest detail to highest detail. So clone, oops, select the whole pattern, not the button. Select my pattern. Clone pattern, oh, not clone instance. Control C, Control D is clone symmetrical pattern. There we go. So now we have them both. And they're symmetrically linked, which means that if I put my buttons through using my fasten button tool on both of them, then it should look nice. Now this piece is all the way over here. I do need to fix that, so I just right click or make sure there's sewing relationship. Here we go. Make sure I haven't crossed it. Don't let this just slingshot in like it really wants to. Superimpose over. And with the buttons, I can select them all and reset 3D position so that they are in the correct spot. Let's see. Let those settle down for a minute. There we go. So my buttons are in place, my little cuffs. It's a little wide, but we'll move forward. We'll add the belt and then be done. So I am freezing everything again because I don't want to have to deal with those buttons. Moving them out of the way and bringing up my skirt again. And then I can just make the beginning of a belt. We'll make a very simple belt. In fact, I will. I'm just going to Control C, Control V. I'll make a reflected one. And I'm just going to make a sewing line. Like I said earlier, I'm going to offset as internal line along a curve directly in the center. And I'm going to sew it to that back. Superimpose over. That might not work so well. Okay. And then same with this one. Just to get it in place. So selecting them both. Oh. Superimpose over. Kids, what are we doing here? Why are you floating? That's what I thought. What are you? Who are you? Oh, you're just extra. Alright, bye. So you see here, this is kind of gathered like this. It's not perfect, but this is where we want it to be. This is now the uppermost layer, so I am going to apply a layer value of 2 to this, just so I remember. And it keeps it in place. I'm unfreezing this upper piece, and this most likely needs to be a little less, but let's take a look at how this is working, because I am just going to turn off elastic, and we can see that this belt is definitely not enough. It's much too large. They are symmetrically linked, so I'm just going to make this smaller. Oh, you know what? This is actually engineered, so I should do free sewing. Using backspace to fix my mistake. Because that should fix this. You can see it's already solving itself here. I can help it along by just hitting Control H. And or just pulling this one piece out. These are quite large robes, as you can see. Another way to adjust this size is to reduce the shrinkage, weft, and warp, because that's left and right. So I can make this, let's just say 80%. If this piece could stop looking funky to me. Yeah, 15 people. I see your name. Watch it. Watch yourself. Reverse sewing. Let's see if I can fix that flip. I love how it's Mage Robes, but I'm like, oh, we're working on the lowest piece first, guys. Okay, my normals is flipped on this piece. Okay, come here, you. Flip. There we go. This. Where is this? We'll reverse the sewing back. Okay. So you can keep shrinking it this way, the manual way, which I personally prefer. Yeah, YouTube, this is mainly for reference. The main reason we do this is for people's reference in the future. There we go. Here's a cool little belt. So we're actually going to leave this belt like this. I like this. This looks nice. Let's make this a little longer on the skirt, though. Yeah. Oh. We'll do a bit of a collar before I forget. I should have just used the V-neck. Turn off simulation. And I'm working on the half. So, a fun little cheater method here. A cheating method. A great way to work efficiently and effectively. So I'm selecting all of the seam lines here. And I'm choosing pattern, offset pattern outline. Just on that piece. Again, I'm going to do 12.5 because that's a ½ inch. I'll create an internal line. And let's see. Right angle, default. Sure. I'm going to have to fix a little bit on the collar here. But I think actually should be fine. Let's see. Reactivate. And as you can see, my simulation is much slower. It is because I brought in those buttons. I'm also simulating everything. That's also why this is going so slowly. I do want this actually to be much wider, so we're gonna do Control-Z all the way back to before I made this, and I'm gonna make it 40 centimeters or 40 millimeters, I think. I should have done this again earlier, but I didn't know if it was gonna fall down or not, so offset pattern outline, we're gonna do 40. Sure, why not? Create internal line, default corner. What is the particle distance for? I do have pieces in the scene that are 10 particle distance, and they're all live simulating. So that is what is also causing this. Most of this is 20. You can see on the right side here that I'm touching, but the pieces that are simulating right now are 10 and 20. Offset pattern outline, 40, okay. Control A, Control K. I'm going to clean up this neckline here, but we're going to look at it. Let that settle in, because I want this a little bit wide. Oh, that's not bad, actually. Luckily, we're also going to keep this pretty consistent. Actually, I really don't hate that, because it's standing straight up. It's going to go up her neck like that. For now, we're going to leave it like this, just so I can move on to the actual coat part. But for now, we're going to go File, Save As, Project, New folder. Mage stuff. Underpiece. So there's not much of a... There's my mouse. There's not much of a fit right here, so I actually am going to go right ahead and start a new file. So we've saved that, so we're going to do a new one. No. The actual robe part is now. Let's see how fast I can go with this. I'm going to bring in my files back. We're going to do a different shirt. Again, I'm using the modular configurator. I will bring them back up to 20 particle distance. So this time I'm going to use a drop shoulder. Do I want to do that? I don't. I'm going to do another set in sleeve. Oh, you know what actually I'm going to do? I'm a liar. I'm going to go... No, I don't want to reset categories. We're actually going to go to shirts. I'm going to do polo shirts. Short sleeves. Because this is going to have a little collar. Boop. I'm not moving her arms down because it is not going to actually have real sleeves. I'm going to use the sleeves, but it's not going to have real sleeves. And I'm going to use the shirt piece. So that's in my scene. I'm going to remove my modular frames. And these sleeves don't actually need to be used, but I'm just going to simulate for a second. All right, so here's a basic shirt, right? So I'm actually going to go right ahead and delete the cut. Where is this? What is this? Oh, it's the hidden one. Okay, so I want to do the under. This is folded over, isn't it? Yeah. So I'm going to delete this. This actually goes and sews right into that. And make sure. This also, I'm right-clicking nothing. I'm right-clicking in the 2D window. I'm blocking all my pattern outlines. I don't need these button internal lines anymore, so I'm selecting and deleting them. And then I am unlocking my pattern outlines, selecting this internal shape, cut, delete. Because this is the center front of the shirt, I'm actually removing a lot of detail. And do it this way. B, using the edit sewing tool, I'm merging. And then, I do need to, yeah, we'll do it that way. Unfold with symmetrical editing. And then I'm going to merge. Merge. And B. I'm going to sew them across. I'm actually going to be just using this as a template, so it doesn't even matter. Delete all that sewing. I don't want to deal with you right now. And I'm going to be splitting this down that center piece again so that I can have this symmetrically linked. Cut and sew. Apply linked editing. This is the long way to go, but merge. So now they're symmetrically linked across the center line. It's mad at me, so we're gonna give it a second. I just did a lot at once. So now I have a floating collar, which is fine. We're going to deal with that later. Control A, we're going to make all of this. There are 5 particle distance on this piece, so I'm going to make this 20 particle distance because I don't want to deal with that right now. We'll move the collar in so we can see it. I am only using the sleeves to make them end up being part of this cape. I'm actually going to leave it like this. So I know, number one, I know this is going to be over top of the underpiece. So no matter what I do, I'm going to make this slightly larger by 2%, so 102%. Just so there's wearing ease to layer this piece. Yeah, and so this is loose, but I'm actually going to be merging this piece into the back. So it actually isn't going to matter in a minute. So well, it is going to bother me, so I will fix it. It's like fine. All right. Well, it's sewn back together mostly. So I'm going to be losing these seams. So I'm going to be making this into a trapeze shape. So what is going to end up happening is I need to end up merging, if I can, I don't know what's going on with my mouse today. I'm going to be merging this sleeve into this shoulder. And I will find a base pattern to show you the example of this. Let's see. We're going to be doing something like this, where the sleeve is actually going to be part of the cape. I'm trying to see if there's like a better flat example before I do it. So what's going to happen is the sleeve is going to be merging with the center back piece. And so it's going to be a large little trapeze little capelet. So again, it's this shape. So it's fitted a little bit. So first of all, what we want to do is I'm gonna merge these pieces together. Using B, I'm selecting both of those sewing lines and I'm merging them into one. Yeah. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Combine. Delete all curve points. Will you do it now? There we go. Yeah, some Victorian mantles do that. Yeah, it's a little capelet. I was trying to find a good... Maybe I should type in the word mantle. Just so we have a visual. Okay, this is really cool though. Side note, 1871 belted mantle. That's really nice. That's really cool. I like that. I like that a lot. That's nice. I like it. Okay. Ooh. But we'll do it the mildly harder way. I will slash and spread this, just like I did before, just so we have a little bit more of a trapeze shape. So, slash and spread from the neck. I'm going to right click it this time, and I'm going to choose distance 100. Okay. Because I'm going to do that to the front, I think, too. Let me see. No, the front's going to actually become a very simple piece. So I'll do it one more time to the back. And I'll do this at 50. Delete this piece, and convert these two pieces to curve points. Oh, got some bonus ones in there. Okay. Alright, anyway. I was trying to find an easy way to do this, but... Ooh. So now that it's a little bit out, let's simulate that, just so I have the shape down. So this piece ends up coming out. This is literally the fullness tool. Slash and spread. Right? I'm not sure. I feel like it is. I feel like they're the same tool. I haven't used Clo in a bit. I think they're the same tool. If you do the same thing that I just did, Junebug, then it's the same tool. It is no longer symmetrically linked, so I'm going to pull this out. And delete. Which is fine, it's fine. Pretty sure I'm forgetting exactly the simple, easy way to do this, but you guys, I guess, just get to watch me struggle. I'm not certain if it's the same tool, but I'm pretty sure it is. There we go, that's correct. They might be talking about like a shirring tool for like gathering. I don't 100% remember. Alrighty. Cut. So this is the one time where it's nice to work on symmetrically, but also I need to remove all of this. So now I can do unfold with symmetrical editing. It's going to be a little mad about it. Just for my own peace of mind. I'm moving this. Just so it's a little easier so you can see what I'm doing. So these are short, which is fine. I just need this to be a little bit wider. And let me look at my references. This is how I do want it to fit. I might actually remove a lot of this. This might become a straight line. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. Delete all curve points. Delete all curve points. All right, we're getting there. See, normally her arms would be at her sides with this garment, as I'm looking at it in my reference. It also looks like I do want to use slash and spread again to make this a bit wider. And then I will clean this up. Because this ends up being a straight line here. In fact, I want to actually pull some of this away. So I'm going to just draw on this for a second using my line pattern tool. Because this is where I want it to be falling, and then it falls straight down from here. So I'm just drawing on it like I would a piece of chalk in real life. I'm going to use my edit line tool. If I wanted to change anything, I'm going to convert this to internal shape. And you can see here that this is now going to come forward. And now I can clean it up a little bit. It's really like a musketeer's tabard. The more I look at it, it really kind of is like that. Now let's see. Extend and trim to pattern outline. And cut so. It's very similar to a musketeer's tabard. It's basically a tabard in a way, huh? I didn't think about that. Yeah, it's just sewn at the front, so it's going to look more like a pea coat when I'm done with it. Well, let's see how this looks. I did remove the curve point here. So I am going to use the smooth curve tool. I'm going to smooth this out a little bit. So I can fake that tabard back. It's very much a tabard look. Edit sewing tool. It's very similar to that. I can't unsee it now. Rosemary? I do want this to be a little bit lower because I do want it to... I'm gonna slice it and make it look like a peacoat, but it's a little odd how it's laying. Because of her chest. I might edit this. So this only works on our actual avatars. So because of her bust, I don't want her to have a bust. I want her to have a little smaller of a bust. You can edit the actual avatars, but only the ones that are in Marvelous Designer. Normally I wouldn't... 500. Oh, I deformed her. Okay, never mind. We're gonna not change my avatar instead. It's because of the nature of her having a chest, of how it's laying. So let's see what else I can do here. I'm going to make this come out more instead. So this is straight, just like the tabard. I don't want to have the bust, but I have to deal with the bust. I should have done this on a male avatar. Oh, I do like how it's falling down like that on the other side. Let's see. I need to... Where are we? Well, this just needs to become a straight line. I see. There we go. That's better. That's what I was doing wrong. Because her arms also need to be moved down, but I'm not going to be able to do that until after I'm done with this. So the closest thing I've made to a superhero suit are the wetsuits. So there is the space suit and the summer fun one. I was making a dress for a designer. I could never look like the pics until I realized his model was basically flat. That's the thing, that it's as flat as a board. A lot of models are. So in this case, I'm having to accommodate for her bust. So I'm like, I don't like how it looks, but it's also because her arms are out. And I do want to also use slash and spread. Again, I'm not going to do it up the neck. I'm going to do it away from the neck. Convert to curve point. And that will also affect how this drapes. So this isn't even the full design yet, just because I'm needing to have this fall first. So this is actually just the underpiece. Because I need to actually make this... I could just make this not functional if I really wanted. But let's move her arms to her sides. We'll move her arms to her sides first. I'm not going to put the garment on, the undergarment on yet. Come on. Thank you. Because she's not going to stand at an A pose. So let's see how it looks when she's in the correct pose. With her arms at her sides. Yep, historical designs. Those ideal figures, I tell you. So right now I'm not even fitting this lower half. I am only working on this upper piece. So just keep that part in mind too while I'm doing this. I think I did add too much volume to that front. So as you saw me do slash and spread, I can also do it in reverse. I still think that I should probably just... Ooh, don't do that. Delete this. Use my B hotkey. Increase this piece, increase there. And then I'll deal with that in a minute. Let's see. Yeah, that's the thing, is that I'm also looking at a costume that has no chest whatsoever. I could also increase the material density here because it's the very basic piece. Let's do a little bit on just on all of this. Okay, because I'm not checking how this will actually fit, let's increase the length of this. That may change how how this drapes. Put this back. Because this is going to end up becoming a very big circle skirt. Basically, this is a very big single pattern. Because I'm not editing the circle portion yet, because I need to edit the curves. It looks very interesting. So it looks like that, but it's very long. And this is why we're doing this not on that skirt. Not on top of everything else. Let's see. $10. Get out of her hands. Okay. And 0 pressure. Come back. It's basically just a really long peacoat style cape, but I just need it to fit relatively okay. But it's falling backwards, as we can see. Before I actually do the fun, cool, designy parts. Come on. There we go. Okay. Make this the same. Make this the same. Because this will be... Oh, I don't want to deal with that. Let's see. I might now just go off the rails and do what the other idea I had. Because I wanted it to be a cool little peacoat idea, but this might... Where's my... Close that. Oh, okay. I don't know why it's sliding around. Why are you sliding around? You don't have pressure. Right? I don't know why it's doing this. I'm probably gonna have to pin it to her for a minute. Oop. Just the one. I want just that. Let's see. Where's the back of the neck? Collar. Come here, collar. My design idea is not coming out how I want it, so I'm going to just change it. So I was going to do a little peek out. We're just going to do something a little bit more fun and grandiose and what most people would anticipate. So we're going to go with that. Let me just do the same thing. So I'm having to pivot, and I'm going to just make this into a proper cape. So I'm going to draw on it. Where are my eyes? Hey, hide needles, right? No, here it is. Line, pattern tool, draw. It's still symmetrically linked, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this and make a giant collar instead. Oops, not the avatar. Edit line. Convert to curve point. Cut and sew. I'm actually not sewing it. I'm going to delete it once it works. Because I don't know why it's just doing that. And I don't want to deal with it, so. Come here. And then, not simulating right now, thank you. Edit sewing tool, meet them in the middle. And because I cut all that stuff off, I'm actually going to really need these pieces to sew together. So I'm going to do circles for my internal lines. And I'm just going to overlap there just to keep it on her. Control C, Control V. And then we'll pull this back over. It's just so heavy. I'm going to turn gravity off for a second, or lower gravity. Simulation properties, negative. Or make gravity less. Just so I don't have to deal with that right now. There we go. So let's see. I'm going to delete this collar. Delete that too. I'm going to, do I want to? I can either delete it or I can keep it standing. Well, let's make this collar. Let's fold this collar back down. Come on. Go back down. So I can either leave it like this. I can have this just become a part of it. Let's see. can merge all of these into one piece. Let's do that. I don't know. Merge. Merge. Now it's just a cape. Can I show you the fold tool again? Yeah. I actually hate what I just did, so I'm going to undo this. So the fold tool is the fold arrangement tool. So you can do this with this tool to make sure that you don't make a mistake when you're folding. You can also, I can just grab the arrows. So I make sure to grab the correct one that I want to move. You can also specifically tell the fold angle, what it's going to be. So I can make it 360 to make it a turned angle. Like that. You know what? I think I also just solved my problem. Layer clone over. Where is this? Remove link to editing. Symmetrical pattern. Add point. Oh. So what are the requirements for being able to merge, seam angle, or length? Oh, merge is easiest. Yes, so merge is, just like what Rosemary said, you want to merge. You have two options for merging. You can merge an angle, a line that is on a pattern that's symmetrically linked, and it will merge across that line with the symmetrically linked pattern. Or you can use the sewing tool to select that sewing line and merge that sewing line, which is what I just did. As you saw. So I'm using the B hotkey and I'm using merge because if I'm not careful, I can accidentally merge across the incorrect direction or a direction I don't want it to go. Yeah, I literally just solved my own problem. So we're going back to my original design, I guess. It was because of the strain on the piece. There we go. I fixed it. You can't see it. But she can have her hands out, so I'll have her move. I'll have her pose for us at the end of this. But now I can do buttons. Okay, we'll do buttons one more time, everybody. So I'm actually going to... It's not linked anymore, but I can do buttons here. So we'll do the buttons one more time. 1, 2. We'll do this way. We'll do 3 buttons. Apply to symmetrical Oh no, not apply as buttonhole. Duplicate to symmetrical pattern. And then for the buttonholes, I'm just eyeballing it at this point. How do I add thickness? I turn on thick textured surface, and then I choose the material that I want my thickness to be. Move this over here. And then I apply that thickness to the material, and then I can adjust it if I want using rendering thickness. And apply duplicate on my symmetrical pattern, and then if you haven't figured out what this might be from, don't say it. Don't, if you figured it out, don't tell anybody. Fasten button through the buttonhole. Fasten button through the buttonhole. Okay, let's see. We're gonna make it a little different so I don't. 2, 3. Apply asymmetric pattern. Yeah, no, that's ugly. I hate it. Button. We'll do one more. I'm so close, so I'm gonna let this run a little longer. Duplicate, and then buttonhole. And I need to rotate this buttonhole using the select move tool for my button. We'll keep it at 50. It should never actually be in the middle, but I'm just gonna delete those. Select move, right click, duplicate, and now I can just keep putting them through. Come here. You go through. Come here. Oh, I keep doing that. Okay. Select. Go through. We got a dancing button over here. Oh, it's not going through. Fasten button through the buttonhole, please. Yes, okay. And we'll go to my buttons. Why? Okay, default buttons, we're not doing that. We're gonna do more of this. Yeah, if you do if you want to stay in Marvelous Designer, do it as I explain. Okay, so we're gonna also, the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna change the collar a little bit. Because I want this to be much more pointy. It's not symmetrically linked across the center, so I'm going to do that. Extend and trim, because I definitely did not do that correctly. Cut and sew. Merge, or B, I guess I didn't do. Using hotkey B, which is the sewing. Are you guys not symmetrically, is this not a symmetrical pattern? It's not a symmetrical pattern, so I'm going to fix that. unfold with symmetrical editing. But because of that, I have to then do this. Now, we'll put it back on the collar. Yeah, figure yourself out. There we go. I want this to be more pointy and more forward. So that means I make it longer and I extend the angle. Out more like this. Like that. Any good resources? Yes, our YouTube channel. It is honestly the best resource for learning how to use Marvelous Designer, because this is exactly how I would train somebody. I mean, the live streams aren't, but the tutorials are. The live streams are a lot of me just, you guys watching me troubleshoot if I haven't planned ahead of time. Like I planned with this one, but obviously I encountered some issues, but then I fixed them as I went. Thanks, random bot. About, okay. Okay. Interesting. Let's put her clothes on. So file, save as, project, mage stuff, giant cape, giant musketeer cape. Didn't mean to, but that's what it ended up being, right? Let's say it what it is. It's an interesting one, but like she'd have like a hat and she looks like a student, so that's why I wanted to do this. So I'm going to remove this from the scene and actually open up that other file. Open, project. I've already saved it, so I'm going to open the under piece again. Yeah, I have the clo file. Sometimes, depending on the software, it'll overwrite the file icons. So Clo will fight with Marvelous sometimes. All right, so I don't have any colors here, so let's do our fabric colors. We're gonna apply all of that fabric 1 and then delete unused. We'll go too fast for it and make it angry. I'm gonna reset my window here. Let's go to my fabric. So I'm gonna either do linen. Let's see how linen looks. Get off my screen. Okay. Turn on my textures. And linen will drape differently. So now it's changing shape. Linen is much stiffer than our base fabric. So we'll give that a second. And to get a puff texture, just because I want it. It's not like anyone's going to see it, but I'll know it's there. We're going to move this down. Layer clone over. Pressure value of 5. And then this one will have a -5 because it's underneath. And it will have a puff texture when I start reducing this back down. Okay, figure yourself out. Oh, I keep hitting the 10 key. Okay, we're gonna do 10 particle distance because here's where we're gonna start stepping down. So I'm gonna bring everything to 10 and then I'm gonna bring it down to 5 because this also affects how things are gonna fit. And this is why we stabilized this. So you would probably stay at either 10 or 15, but just for the sake of this. I'm going to make this 5. And it's having to calculate a lot right now. So we got to be a little patient. She says, being impatient. There we go. I'm going to stop simulating. I'm going to see how I like it at 5. So you can see here the rippling because of how it's sewing into it. That's fine, and that is to be expected. I will, to make my work easier, I am going to bring this. So I like how it looks. I'm fine. There's no problems. I'm going to bring this back up to 15 particle distance because I'm going to move her arms down. So I just checked it. I'm done. So I'm going to go to my avatar, female, motion. Oh, not motion. I don't need to animate right now. Pose. Put her arms at her sides. Pose only. Because it simulates with the cloth, so you do want to move her arms down. So the other thing I could have done was I could have moved her arms back into that A pose. Or I could do it this way. I just chose to do it this way, just now. Okay, so once that's done, I'll let that finish. I can file, add into my scene project. Making sure to add only my garment. Nope. So I'm going to make sure to move this. And I do remember I have a layer on this dress, so I'm going to give it a layer of like 5. So no matter what, it's going to pop out. And to help this along, I am going to freeze this underlayer. Ooh. This might cause some problems because that's a lot of collision happening, but we're going to see. Because this should all be layer 5. Okay. And it should solve itself. Her hands are a little angry. That's fine. That is to be expected. Select mesh. Let's check her hands. Just pull all of that out. Same with this. And that's also why I've frozen everything underneath it. I'm really testing this. Also, gravity is back to normal, I believe. Let's make sure. Yes, gravity is back to normal, so... I may turn gravity back off to get it to simulate a little bit how I want it to. Or turn it back to half gravity. This one, let's do a different material. It's like you can't even see it now. Like, here's her robes. But I'll have her in a different pose here. Fabric. Let's just do a wool. Do I want a wool knit? Do I want... Oh, we only have knits. Let's see. I'm going to do this one. Apply that wool. And to the collar. And the collar I will also add bonding, which is basically interfacing like you would do in real life. Interfacing, so if you have any button-up collars, like any button-up shirts, take a look at your collar and feel it. There is a piece that's in the middle, interlining, is in an interlayer that is used to stabilize. So, I don't know why that's flying. So, that's why you apply bonding. That's bonding. Can you not? That is why you apply bonding, because it is simulating that interfacing that exists in the real world. If you can deal with yourself here. You have no pressure. Why are you flying? Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought. Let's do our buttons. And change the color of this. Oh, not the texture map. Texture, desaturation on, color. I like the teal. Okay, no, we'll do this one. I'll pick my favorite color. Yay! Okay. Buttons. What is this button? Okay, it's that one. Color, eyedrop, match. And buttonhole, we'll do, what are you? Which buttonhole? Of course it's the last one. Okay, we'll make it also a little darker. So here's this really, really long little capelet. Like capelet. It's a really long cloak. It can't be, the undergarment unfortunately can't be seen. So you could open this if you really wanted. Let's see. Why are you? Okay, there we go. Just for the sake of a pose, let's move her first. Unfreeze everything. Simulate it for a second. Because now we have the layer underneath. I'm going to put her in a running pose and then undo half of this. I'm just going to let this settle itself for a second. And then avatar pose. We can do a running pose. We can do... Maybe this pose is nice. Let's see. because there's so much that it needs to calculate and simulate at the same time while she's moving in her pose, it is taking a little bit of time. Because I have also made this 5 particle distance at some points. I'll know she's done moving once this stops simulating. And then I have to end this soon. Okay, there we go. Don't want to do that. We're going to just freeze that for now. Yeah. Well, it's because her hands. I could increase the collision thickness of her hands, but then it would change the fit of everything. Get out. It's just one spot. There we go. Yeah, you guys, this is also why my volume is very low. You cannot hear the fan. It looks like she like grandiosely just like threw her cape. I want her to take the coat off so I can make a nice pose. Now I'm mad about my design. This is what I get. This is exactly what I get. Makes nice undergarment that no one can see. It's also simulating things I don't want it to, so give me 1 second. Control K. That should make it faster. There's a lot more in the scene though, so it's having to calculate more, which is why it's slower. So this is also why if you are making multiple pieces and multiple layers, you do want to work in each layer as you go. And I really just want to have the whole front gone. I'm so mad at myself for that. Oh yeah, also now that the buttons are there, I actually need to remove those seams. Ooh, wrong one. Put it back. Okay. These ones need to go. And then I will also do unfasten these buttons. Oops, just unfasten. Oh, fasten button tool. Off, 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 off. Come here, you. Oh, what am I doing? Okay. Oh, are there still some that are fastened? You little scamp. Okay. To make my life easier, you guys will get to see that fold tool again. I'm going to make sure it stays folded. Ooh. Okay, maybe not that far. Go back. Okay, unbutton. Turn a line from center to edge. Fold line. Fine. Remove symmetrical editing. Fold line. In fact, now I can just do this. Give me. My computer is very mad. Come here, you. There you go. I style it how I want to style it. Let me do it. I may have made a mistake, but I will have what I want. And this button needs to go through. In fact, I'm going to be even more of a brat. These buttons, I'll leave it. I don't want to deal with that right now. I'm now unstyling this garment just so I can get these mage robes in view. Let's do it for the thumbnail. Oh, okay, there we go. Get out of there. And I'm going to remove this internal line. 'Cause now it stays. And get away from the button. Control A, Control K. There we go. It's a little bit better now. The linen is a little. I'm actually gonna do cotton. Hold on. Fabric. Don't do that. Okay. Did we just change all the names? Oh, no, we didn't. Okay. We will want maybe cotton voile. I'll have to make it opaque. Not twill. I wanted voile. Okay. Make me hate everything about my existence. We'll make this 10 particle distance. And then I'll end up rendering it afterwards. But We've covered, I believe, most of the questions we had. And while you're solving yourself, I will again share the links to our Discord and our website. So again, if you want to join the Discord, that's where I make announcements and where we get a lot of questions, and you can ask questions and help answer questions. As well as, here is a link to our YouTube channel. For those of you on Twitch, we do let them expire on YouTube on Twitch after the 2 weeks. And also we do have a link to our beginner tutorials. They are for the older version. We are working on updating our tutorials, but the concepts are still applicable. Just some things are in different locations. And then if you do have an account with us already, or if you at least have a login, if you're experiencing any technical difficulties or like you might have found a bug, let us know by going to support and contact tab on our website and simulate. Okay. And so those are all the links. And don't forget, we do have that new contest that we are helping be a part of. We are collaborating with Laertes for their monthly 3 prop challenge, and we'll be doing it through the end of the year. So this month's is Cyberpunk, and I just made a mage robe, not in theme whatsoever, because I found out about it recently. So here's my cool robes that are definitely not hiding the garment underneath that we spent more time on. So I will let this render off screen, and then I will make this the thumbnail, and hopefully this will be, I did lose a lot of the older assets, but hopefully this will be the new one that we can give to you guys for free for reference, not for you to sell, obviously. But thank you for joining us. I need to run off to join a meeting here soon, but I will just let this keep simulating, and I hope that I covered all your questions. Feel free to join the Discord and I will make posts, by the way, on the Discord channel now using threads, so that we can kind of, if you guys want me to keep doing that, to talk about what you want to see for the next stream. So I'll add that to it. It seemed like people enjoyed that. Seemed like you guys like that at least. So, but yeah, thank you for joining us. I'm gonna run off and try to grab some lunch before my meeting, and I will see you guys online. Thank you so much for joining us.